Yeah, it's going to go on to e-class, and it's just in case my students for tomorrow might need it. All right, so here's the warm-up for number 1. What did you get, Ava? X equals 5. Very good. If you set it up and you'd perform your cross product, remember we multiply the diagonals to create an equation. So if we do X times 18.2, that's going to give us 18.2X. And if we multiply 7 times the 13, 7 times the 13 is going to give us 91. Okay, so now we have 18.2x is equal to 91. The last step is to divide both sides by 18.2. And you'll get that x is going to be equal to 5. So that's answer to problem number 1. What about for problem number 2? What did you get, Angel? 8. Very good. So again, if you multiply and do our cross product, so we're going to have 66x is equal to 12 times 44. And 12 times 44 is going to give us 528. So then we're going to divide both sides by 66, and we'll get that x is equal to 8. Okay, who wants to go ahead and answer the last one? What did you get there, Shania? 19.8 is correct. Okay, so once again, we're going to multiply 14 times the x. Let me move that up a little so you can see. We're going to get 14x, because 14 times x is 14x. Then we're going to multiply 6 times 46.2, and that's going to give us 277.2. And then we'll divide by 14 on both sides. And we're going to wind up getting that x is 19.8. So like I said before, guys, when you're doing the these next few units, using these proportions is going to be really big for, you know, the percents unit. It's going to be big for probability. It's going to be big for predictions in our inferences unit. You really want to make sure that you understand setting up a proportion and then how to solve it. Once it's set up, you're pretty good with solving it. But let's go ahead and work today with our percent proportion. That's what we're going to be focusing on right now, is the percent proportion. Okay? So the percent proportion, when we talk about a percent is out of how much? 100. We always know that. So what we do is we set up this proportion, and we kind of call it is over of equals a percent over 100, where is, when we say the term is, okay, is represents what we call the part of a situation. That's our is value. Of represents the whole of the situation. So if you've got, you know, 5 purples out of 25 Skittles, then it would be 5 over 25, because 5 is how many purples you have, the part, out of 25, which is the whole of the bag. Okay? And we want to know, okay, well, what percent is that? So we set it equal to the percent, which we don't know. Usually we'll call it P if it's missing, out of 100, because a percent is out of 100. So you're going to be given different situations where you're looking for what value represents the part, which one represents the whole. Sometimes a situation might be really easy to identify it because it'll have those key terms is and of. Okay, is representing the part, of representing the whole. Yes, Janice? Sure. Okay, so if I give you the situation, so we're going to talk about some basic problems first. 50 is 20% of what number? So we have 50 is 20% of what number? So like I said before, you got is over of equals percent over 100. The only number that we know in this proportion is 100. It's the only one that is guaranteed always there. Now we have to figure out what is the is value, what's the of value, what's the percent value. So what I suggest you write down is you write down is, you write down of, and you write down percent, and you fill in that information. So let's take a look at 50. 50 is not a percent. How do I know it's not a percent? Because it doesn't have a percent sign. Okay? We know that 50 can't be a percent because it doesn't have a percent sign. So 50 either has to be an is or an of value. What is it? Is, because it says 50 is. The fact it says it right there that 50 is, I'm going to highlight it in my green so I know. 50 is, that's my is value. Okay, now the 20. What is that? The percent, because it has that percent sign right attached to it. It's got the percent sign on it, which makes it a percentage. The only time that it's considered to be a percent is if it's got the percent sign attached to it. So we know that the percent is 20. Of what number? That's the value that's missing, so what do we call it? A variable. And we usually just fill it in as the variable x. Okay? So we know the of is missing, we're going to put it as an x. So now we just fill this information into our proportion that we have set up. Is over of, so that means it's going to be 50 over x equals the percent, which is 20 over 100. So we've got 50 over x equals 20 over 100, and then we just solve. So we're going to multiply 20 times x, which will give us 20x. We're going to multiply 50 times 100, which is going to give us 5,000. And then we divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 20. And we'll find out that x, the whole, is 250. Hey guys, remember I'm recording so that way if I happen to be absent tomorrow, the students who are in the other classes will be able to hear this. It's going to be difficult if they've got you talking a lot in the background. Okay? No, but I can edit you out of the class. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be on the stick soon. Okay.
Tried it.
Shh. Next question. What percent of 20 is 4? What percent of 20 is 4? So again, like I recommend, to make it easy, just write down your information that you're trying to figure out. Is, of, and percent. Okay, so let's focus on the first number we see, 20. What value is that?
The percent.
Does it have a percent attached to it? No, so it can't be a percent. Do either of these numbers have a percent attached to it? No. So we know percent is going to be missing because neither one of these have a percent symbol. So that's going to be a variable. And we'll put P because P represents percent. So that means that these two numbers represent our is and our of. What's 20? Is it an is or an of, Ava? Of. Okay, of 20. Of 20. So we know that this is our of value. So of is going to be equal to 20. What's the 4? Is, because it says is 4. And the percent is the variable. That's very good. Okay, so we know the percentage is the value that is missing. So it says what percent? That's the value that's missing. So now when we set this up, we're going to set it up as 4 over 20 equals P percent over 100. Okay, so we're going to do our cross product to solve. So we're going to multiply 20 times p, that's going to give us 20p, equals 4 times 100, which is 400. And then the last step is to divide. So we'll divide by 20, and what's our percentage? 20%. Don't forget to put your percent sign if it's a percent that you're looking for. Do not forget to put the percent sign if it's the percent you're looking for. All right, I want you guys to try these two problems on your own, okay? And never say easy, guys, because you never know. Somebody in the class might have a difficult time. So when you're saying it's too easy, this is so easy, you might be making somebody else feel bad. Okay? Shh. So here's the next two problems. 60 is 25% of what number? And then number 4, what number is 32% of 1,000?
What's next to the
32% of 1,000.
Miss?
French-Zheng.
Okay, yeah, Miss French-Zheng. Did it matter like how we set it up?
It always has to be is over of equals percent over 100. Oh, hold on. Let everybody have a chance to get through it. Not during notes, though. When we're done with the notes, we're almost done. All right, Darius, what did you get for number 3? X equals 240 is correct. Okay, so the values that we're given right now, it says 60 is, so there's our is value. Our is value is going to be 60. 25%, so that's our percentage value. So our percent is going to be equal to 25. That means our of value is what's missing. So of what number, that's our variable x. When we set this up, we're going to set it up as 60 over x is equal to 25 over 100. We'll then do our cross product. Okay, so we've got 60 over x, 25 over 100. We're going to do x times the 25 to get 25x. We're going to do 60 times the 100. That's going to give us 6,000. And then we're going to divide by 25 on both sides. And we'll get that x is going to be equal to 240. Okay, for number 4, what number is 32% of 1,000? What did we get there, Greg? 320 is correct. So what number is, that's our missing value. So the is the value that's missing. We don't know it. The percent, 32%, A lot of times people make mistakes and they want to say 32 is the is value because they say is 32. But it's not is 32, it's is 32%. So that's our percentage. 32 is our percent. And then of the 1,000, our of value is going to be 1,000. Okay, so we set it up. X over 1,000, right, is over of equals the percent, 32, over 100. And then we do our cross product. So we're going to multiply 100 times the x to get 100x. We're going to multiply 1,000 times the 32 to get 3,200. Or sorry, no, 32,000. And then we're going to divide both sides by 100. And we're going to get that x is equal to 320. Okay? Now, not every situation is going to be set up where it's like these little tiny quick statements. Sometimes it might be an actual word problem. And in that situation, that's when it's important to know that the is represents the part of the problem. The of represents the whole of the situation. So you need to know that is represents a part, of represents a whole. So it's part over whole equals percent over 100. So let's take a look at an actual real world situation. All right, so the number of students at school decreased to 98% of last year's number. So currently there are 1,170 students. We want to know how many were there last year, and we're going to round our answer to the nearest whole number. Okay, so now it's time to figure out what's the part, what's the whole, and what's the percent. Well, it's easy to find the percent, right? What's the percent? 98. So that's a really easy one right there, 98%. The percentage is always the easiest to figure out. Hold on, sweetie. So we know that that's going to be 98%. So now you have to look at 1,170 and try to decide, okay, is that a part or is that a whole? So is 1,100, is the students this year a part of the students from last year? Or, yeah. So the number of students, it's considered to be 98% of last year's number. So last year's number of students is the whole value. Okay? This year's students is the part. Yes, sweetie? And what did I say you're going to do? You're going to round to the nearest whole number. Okay, that's why you guys have to make sure you're reading. I know that you're going to get a decimal answer because it told you to round to the nearest whole number. Okay, so our of is the value that is missing. That's our x. Our is the value we currently have, which is 1,170. So when we set it up, we're going to set it up as 1,170 over x equals 98 over 100. We'll do the cross product. Do 98 times x, which gets you 98x. Do 1,170 times 100, and that's going to give you 117,000. And then the last step is going to be to divide by 98. And like Dylan pointed out, he's going to get a nice long decimal answer, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what the decimal answer was going to be. It was going to be 1,193.877551. It's going to keep going on and on and on. But we need to round to the nearest whole number. So if we're rounding to the nearest whole number, it means we're going to look at the number that's directly behind the decimal, and that's going to tell us how to round it. So the decimal, the number behind the decimal is an 8. So are we going to round up or leave it alone? Up. So what's the next number? Up. 1,194. So x is going to be approximately 1,194. Yes.
Well, this one's a statement. In the like in the passage or not passage, but in like the word problem, yeah, the word problem that you wrote. There's you told us where the one, like you told us at the end where it was going.
Huh?
Like at the end of the problem, you told us where the one, when you told us where the 1,770 is going.
Okay.
You had a clip here?
I have no idea. All right, our next question. This is going to be the last one for our notes, and that way you can have time to work on your assignment. So Sally's soccer team played 25 games and won 17 of them. We want to know what percent did the team win? What percent did the team win? Okay, so now we're looking at the two numbers that are given to us. Well, obviously the question's asking for what percent. I do. They're right here. So we're asking what percent won. So obviously that means that the value that's missing is the percentage, isn't it? Okay. So the percentage is what's going to be missing. So that means 25 and 17 are considered to be the is and of values. We just have to figure out which one's the is and which one's the of. So you've got the games you've played and you've got the games you've won. What's the whole? The 25, right? How many games you've played is your whole. How many games you've won is just part, right? You've won part of the games that you've played. You've lost part of the games that you've played. How many games you win, how many games you've lost, and how many games you tied, when you combine those together, that will equal your total or your whole. So this, the 25 games that was played, they played 25 games, that's going to be the of value.
Yeah.
Remember, you're being recorded. How many games were actually won, that's the is value. That's the part. Yes. You won 17 of those games.
Oh,
Okay? And then the percent is the value that's missing, so we'll let that be the P. Okay, then we set it up. 17 over 25 is going to be equal to the percent that's missing out of 100. So once you get that proportion set up, you guys are golden. You know how to do your cross product to solve. You multiply 25 times P to get 25 per P. Then you multiply 17 times 100, and you get 1,700. And then you're going to divide by 25, and you'll get your percentage is going to be 68%. Okay, your assignment for tonight, and for you guys, it's due the next class time that I see you. But your assignment, it's a worksheet. It's front and back. And remember, if you don't have your worksheet, you're going to be put in silent lunch.
So it's due Wednesday?
It'll be due the next day that I see you, yes.